Some mysteries are more than just puzzles. They feel like, well, they're like echoes from the past, whispers in the air, or these cryptic coded messages that just completely challenge everything we think we know. So today, we're gonna try and decode some of the truly unexplained. I mean, just stop and think about that. You have one of the ancient wonders of the world, sealed up for millennia. How in the world could you find a brand new room, hidden deep inside without drilling a single hole? And then you've got the total opposite problem. Imagine a phantom sound that drives people crazy, a constant humming noise that our best, most sensitive scientific instruments can't even pick up. It's like an invisible sound. How is that possible? See, these aren't just cool questions, they lead to even wilder answers. Because it turns out, the methods we're now using to solve these mysteries, well, they can be just as bizarre and unexpected as the mysteries themselves. Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to start with one of the most iconic structures on the entire planet, a monument that has held onto its secrets for thousands and thousands of years. So, the Great Pyramid, built way back around 2560 BC for the pharaoh Khufu, it's always been this source of endless speculation. For centuries, people have been asking the same question: are there undiscovered chambers still hidden inside? And now, we actually know the answer. And it's yes. So how on earth did they find it? Not with drills, not with dynamite, but with particle physics. The technique is called muon tomography, and it is a complete game changer. Muons are these tiny particles, kind of like heavier cousins of electrons, and they're made when cosmic rays from space smash into our atmosphere. They are literally raining down on us all the time, and the cool part is they can pass through hundreds of meters of solid rock. So, by putting these special detectors inside and around the pyramid, scientists could basically track the paths of these muons, and if they found a spot where way more muons were getting through, well, that meant there was empty space. So the secret to unlocking one of our planet's oldest mysteries wasn't found in some forgotten tomb or some ancient text. No, the key was in this constant, invisible shower of particles from deep space that is passing through all of us, every single second of every day. That's right, subatomic particles, born from stars exploding millions of light years away. They were the flashlights that lit up a hidden chamber that's been in total darkness for over 4,500 years. And what they found was just staggering. A previously unknown void at least 30 meters long. I mean, to put that into perspective, its volume is pretty similar to the pyramid's famous Grand Gallery. But here's the real twist. While we know it's there, we have absolutely no idea what it's for or how to get to it without damaging this ancient monument. So the discovery didn't solve a mystery. It just created a much deeper one. It's turning physicists into a new breed of archaeologist. Okay, so from a secret that was hidden in solid stone, we're now going to turn to phantoms in the air, phenomena that we can clearly see or hear, but for some reason can't seem to measure or explain. We're looking at two completely bizarre and kind of opposite puzzles here. On one hand, you've got these recurring, brilliant lights that anyone can see with their own eyes, but no one can explain. And on the other, you have this persistent, maddening sound that some people can hear perfectly clear, but our best instruments can't detect at all. So what is going on here? First up, let's talk about the Hessdalen lights in Norway. Now, we're not just talking about some faint glows in the distance. We are talking about massive balls of light, some as big as a car, pumping out an incredible amount of power. They do these bizarre maneuvers, they can even shoot out smaller balls of light. It's absolutely wild. And despite decades of scientific study, their origin is still a complete mystery. And then there's the hum, which has been reported all over the world. In Taos, New Mexico, investigators couldn't find any sound source at all, just some elevated electromagnetic fields. But the study in Kokomo, Indiana is even more telling. Get this, they actually found 2 industrial sources of low-frequency sound, and they got the companies to silence them. But for most of the people who heard the hum, it didn't stop. The only conclusion they could come to, whatever this thing is, it's not a normal sound wave that you can just block or silence. All right, from mysteries that seem to defy the very laws of physics, we now turn to one that was born from the darkest corners of the human mind. For decades, one of America's most notorious serial killers taunted police with letters and ciphers, leaving this trail of terror and frustration that eventually just went cold. Of course, I'm talking about the Zodiac Killer. But what if the biggest clue of all was hiding in plain sight this whole time? There's this really compelling new theory that suggests the killer left a key not in some complex symbol, but in a simple, repeated mistake. He consistently misspelled the word paradise as paradise, and according to this analysis, that wasn't an error. It was the mathematical foundation for all of his codes. The theory lays out this fascinating interlocking system. You can think of it like a set of dominoes. The first cipher that was solved, the Z408, allegedly provides this paradise key. That key then supposedly unlocks the notoriously difficult Z340 cipher. Then, that same mathematical logic purportedly points directly to the prime suspect, Lee Allen, in a shorter cipher. It creates this chain, suggesting these aren't four separate puzzles, but one single long calculation, all leading to a final confession. Now, if this theory holds up, that final 32-character cipher isn't just a bunch of random symbols. It's alleged to be a blunt confession and, in a really clever twist, a pointer. Why 32 characters? The theory proposes it's actually a clue to the suspect's address, 32 Fresno Street, a confession and a location all wrapped up in one final chilling code. And this brings us to the mathematical gut punch at the heart of the theory. The odds of 4 separate ciphers plus the suspect's name, all just randomly producing the exact same mathematical signature, well, they're calculated to be less than 1 in 450,000. The argument isn't just about cracking a code, it's about probability. So, was this a deliberate evil design, or just an astronomical coincidence? So, we've looked at a hidden chamber, phantom phenomena, and a coded confession. But what ties all these strange discoveries together? Well, it's the idea that sometimes we find things that simply shouldn't exist where or when we find them. This is the whole concept of an out-of-place artifact, or an O apart. It's something that shows up in the historical record so far ahead of its time that it forces us to completely rethink what we thought we knew about history. And it's not just about physical things. That void in the pyramid, you could call that an out-of-place discovery. The hum, that's an out-of-place sound. They're all clues that our picture of the world might be seriously incomplete. And this might be the most staggering OOP art ever found, the Antikythera mechanism. It was discovered in a Roman-era shipwreck, and it's basically an analog computer from over 2,000 years ago. It's this breathtakingly complex device made of bronze gears that could predict eclipses and track the planets. Nothing even remotely close to its complexity appears again in the historical record for over 1,400 years. That is a technological black hole of 14 centuries. But here is the most chilling thought, and it comes from the researchers who actually studied it. This mechanism is so sophisticated, so well engineered, that it's extremely unlikely to have been the first one they ever made. It was probably the result of a long tradition of gear-making technology, a tradition that has now been completely lost to history. Which brings us to our final big question. The Antikythera mechanism, the pyramid's hidden void, the killer's code, these are just the clues we've actually managed to find. But they all hint at so much more that is either lost or still hidden from us. It really makes you wonder, for every single mystery we manage to solve, how many are we still missing completely?